whenever someone says they're a thing, like if someone says they're a conservative or a Democrat or a punk music fan, you always need to ask them, what do you mean by that? And feminism is no different. So when someone says they're a feminist, it begs the question, well, what do you mean? Because it's not that simple. There's at least in the U.S., I guess the Western world, there's three waves, and as far as I see it, the first wave is basically women saying, if men have the right to vote, women should too, and most people are for that. Probably I think I saw somewhere around 90% of people agree with that. That women should have the same rights as men. There's not a whole lot of disagreement there. It's debatable, whether you think voting is really that important. Doesn't seem to matter to me too much. Uh, Judging by, the current president, pretty much just doing what, anyone would do in there, it seems like, especially with all this Syria crap. It's not clear to me that if you had any other person in there that war or that, our involvement over there wouldn't have been any different. It just doesn't seem to matter who you get in there. Who could be more of an outsider? Like, I don't know. Maybe if we get a third party person, it'll be different, but I doubt it. So the first wave, it's basically getting the right to vote, same rights for women as men. Okay, we're on board with that. I agree. Second wave is basically trying to get rid of the stereotypical gender roles with men working, men being the breadwinners. Let's get women in there. Let's get women working. The main criticism with that is exactly how many women want to work. Yeah, I mean, how many men want to work, for one? It's not even all men that want to, provide. But obviously there's more men that want to do that than women. But yeah, that's the second wave is the bra burning stuff, sexual liberation, all that crap. Pretty hard to say the second wave was as important as the first, because how many women want to, be executives and CEOs, and it's weird. It's clearly not going to be as many women as men doing that sort of thing. It's just, we're different. Men and women are not the same. Hard to believe. And then the third wave is, okay, so basically, first wave, men and women should vote. Second, women should be able to vote just like women. Or women should be able to vote just like men. Second wave is women should be able to work like men do. And third wave is women are men. There's no difference between what women, like, this is where they try to separate gender from sex, biological sex. They're different. Some even say that biological sex doesn't exist at all, which I totally don't understand that. There's that one interview on that Canadian, I forget what television channel it was, where they were talking to Jordan Peterson and some feminist professor guy who was some transgender person, trans woman, and they were saying that that biological sex doesn't exist, and I can unpack that for you, which I love, because and he's basically like, well, we don't have the time to do that here. It's like, Jesus. Yeah, when you say something that retarded, I feel like you're just obligated to explain it. But you can't do that on television because you get these 10-minute windows where you can say what you think. It's really retarded, but that's another thing. So, yeah, third wave, women are men. There's no difference. Women can do whatever men can do. Except in, sanitation, who cares if there's women doing that? It's just, we want all the good things, but none of the bad things. Doesn't seem to be a huge backlash with, women allowing men to pay for everything on dates. You don't see a whole lot of criticism of that in third wave feminism. But Yeah. So third wave is, so when people are out there making videos about how much they hate feminism, they're talking about third wave, generally speaking. Not first. I don't know anyone that criticizes first wave. No one really thinks women shouldn't be allowed to vote. Second wave and third wave, in some sense, are almost directly opposed to each other. Because second wave is, a part of it was women should be able to just have, sex without any issues, without any stigma. They tried to get rid of the stigma of it for some reason. And third wave is basically saying the opposite. Well, they don't want the stigma, but there's all these rules with consent. You have these like these famous basketball players where they'll go to, different cities, and the women basically line up. They literally are signing consent forms now before they engage with the basketball stars, which is really just special. But even that doesn't work, because now there's like this continuous consent where I guess you have to consent 30 times, or maybe it's every 10 seconds you have to say I'm okay with this, which is just retarded and just not practical. But yeah, so that's the different wave. So if someone's criticizing it, they're probably talking about third wave. So if you say I'm a feminist, you have to say why. Like, what do you mean by that? It's like, and this is the problem. If you start criticizing feminism, they think, oh, you think women shouldn't be allowed to vote? No, dummy. We're talking about the third wave stuff where you think men and women are exactly the same. They're different. No difference. It's just your genitalia is the only thing that changes what a man and a woman is, which is obviously not true. I don't know how they explain where, like, you'll have babies before they can speak. They're, 9 times out of 10 going for different toys before they're socialized. How do they explain that? Clearly, there's some connection there. But I guess if you just don't talk about it, it doesn't exist. Another thing I don't understand, if biological sex doesn't exist and gender is completely separate from biological sex, there's no tethering there, why are transgender people taking hormones? If there's no difference and they're not attached, why not just, why can't you just say you're a woman if you're a man and say you're a man if you're a woman? And then that's just what you are. Why do you have to take these hormones then? That doesn't really add up too much. Like, if there's a male brain, if there's no male brain, no female brain, because that's what they say. They say if you're a transgender person, you're a man in a woman's body or a woman in a man's body. So I assume they're talking about brain, because nothing else matters. So if you have a female brain, like Bruce Jenner had a female brain and a male body, aren't you saying that biological sex does exist then? How does that make any sense? It doesn't make any sense is really the real answer there. But yeah, that's the different waves of feminism. So whenever someone says they're a feminist, it's just like when someone says, we need to ban assault rifles. Whenever someone says assault rifles, just stop them and be like, what do you mean? Like, I would love, you know, these retards on the news talking about we need to ban assault rifles. They clearly have no idea what they're talking about. They probably couldn't explain the difference between a semi-auto and an auto, or anything else, which is just bizarre. I mean, if you watch movies, you'll probably find out the difference between a semi-auto and an auto, which I feel like I've known what an automatic and a semi-automatic gun was since I was, like, I don't know, 9? I mean, how are you, like, how are you middle-aged and you don't know the difference? And if you don't know the difference, that's fine, but don't, like, start prescribing your political beliefs on what should happen to it. It's just bizarre. It'd be like me saying we need to stop these fast cars because they have too many cylinders. Like, I don't know a lot about cars, but I'm not going to start prescribing what we should do with cars. It just makes no sense to me. But yeah, that's the different feminism waves. So yeah, just refer to this if you need to. If you ever forget what the different waves are. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was I took a Logic 101 class in college, and I would recommend that literally every person on the planet take something, because it literally changed my life. You start, because it teaches you how to think. What could be more important than that? You look at everything different. And the teacher at the time, he was basically saying that this is going to be the most important class of your life, which is a little bit little pretentious looking back at it now. I was like, oh, you want to take my class? It's going to change your life. But he ended up being correct, so I guess it wasn't too out of line. But yeah, it teaches you how to think. It's the framework for all mathematics. And I always wondered, why isn't logic? I mean, you're taught math K through 12 the whole way, and it keeps advancing. Why are you not taught logic in school? Maybe some schools do. Mine certainly didn't. It was not a thing. I didn't know what a fallacy was until I was in college. Now, that doesn't make much sense. And my theory is that, and you'll hear some anarchists talk about this, that public education isn't meant to educate you. It's meant to create good citizens that will work and basically be tax livestock. That's what they say. And maybe they're right, because why else would logic not be taught in school? It helps everything. It helps you learn. It helps you think. You literally see the world in a different way after you take it, because when you start hearing these like stupid arguments that like, I don't know, this guy's a racist because he talked to this guy once. It's like, well, okay, that's just a logical fallacy. That's just, shit, what's it called? Of course I forget it. Oh, I'll think of it. Maybe I won't. But, that's embarrassing. But, guilt by association. That's what it was. God, that's sad. But yeah, guilt by association. As soon as you know just just even fallacies, just Google it. And as soon as you see this, as soon as you learn and understand them, you hear these arguments and you can just easily dismiss them, not because it's uncomfortable to hear. You dismiss them because it's not logical. It doesn't make any sense. You dismiss it because it's illogical, not because you don't agree with it. And that's the beauty of knowing just a base level of logic. It's just a 101 class. I mean, that should be required, I think. But did you see this Charlize Theron? What a stupid name, though. Charlize Theron says racism could make her leave the U.S. Doesn't feel safe for her black children. Racism is much more alive and well, and she considers leaving America. What a retard. What are you talking about? Racism is much more alive and well. As opposed to what? I mean, so I'm against this whole, so I guess she adopted two black kids. I'm sure they're from some third world shithole country. So when she's adopting this, can you imagine being right next to the kid she adopted? I mean, your life, so it's literally, it's the difference between dying of botulism when you're 7 or having the best life you could ever have as far as money goes. And doesn't feel safe. I mean, her 2 black adopted kids are probably the safest 2 black people on the planet. As long as she lives in the U.S., totally fine. Which is really special. And it's a little rich, too. Talking about racism in the U.S. It's like, she's from South Africa. Like, does she have no idea what's happening there? Has she not looked it up? Does she not Google? I mean, I'm sure she has relatives there. Are they not saying anything? Are they totally delusional? Just bizarre. Like, nothing could be more stupid than saying that, like, you don't feel safe. You're a multi-millionaire. Nobody is more safe than you and your kids. Just retarded. I saw someone online saying that it must be tough to get jobs after a post-casting couch environment, but let's be real, those casting couches are still out there. That's the whole Me Too stuff. Nothing's changed. You know, nothing has changed in Hollywood. I guarantee the same crap's happening, and we'll just have another Me Too movement in another 5 years or so. As soon as they went after that Aziz Tard, as soon as they went after him, that movement just died instantly. You go after one person on the left, oh, gotta shut it down. And his case was retarded. The guy clearly was just weird and had just didn't have any game. That's clearly what happened. But irregardless, I think they shut it down because he was a left guy. It wasn't that big of a deal. If he was a right guy and it wasn't that big of a deal, it wouldn't have killed it. But I think he's what killed it ultimately. But anyway, I think that's all I got for today. I had other things, but I don't really feel like talking about it right now. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention on the first one. I'm going to be uploading every Monday is the plan. Every Monday morning. So when you go into work, you have a new rant to listen to every Monday. That's the plan. I'm also be uploading everything on archive.org. I'll have the link in the description. I want to find other places to upload, but I'm cheap. So I want to do it for free, and Archive's free. So if you want to download it, if that's your thing, if you don't have internet wherever you go, or you're on a flight or something, then you can download it on archive.org. Anyway, I think that's all for today. We'll see what happens. Well, first of all, before I cut off, this Syria stuff with Trump, if he gets us involved in a war with Syria, I think he's done for me. I think that's it. Because that's not... I mean, the whole fear with Hillary was that we were going to be at a war in war against Russia or with Syria, because basically she said she would put a no-fly zone there after, Russia's already there, and if anything flies in there, we'll shoot them down. Well, you basically just said, okay, we're going to war. That was the big fear with Hillary, so if Trump ends up doing the same thing, then, I mean, he's done. I'm done with him. He's dead to me at that point. But anyways, that's the show for this week. If anything crazy happens, I'll upload a rant during the week. So, if nothing does, then I'll see you next Sunday. Or Monday, rather. I usually record them on Sunday, but you'll hear this on Monday. So, that's it. Peace.